everybody, good evening. Welcome to the 17th session of The Joy of Coding here at Portland State University. We're getting on towards the end, which means we're talking Android. And so then this week and next, it's all about Android. And I'm looking forward to it. This in some respects, this is the culmination of the course, right? You've been learning about how to, the Java language, how to use the APIs, and how to build applications, and how to deal with concurrency and all this kind of stuff. This I think what students have told me is this is kind of like the victory lap, the sliding into home plate, whatever sports analogy you want to use. I'm not very good at sports analogies, but talking about hey, this is this is the fun stuff. This is the cool stuff. So can't wait to get into that in a little bit here. But first, I want to open it up for Prime Minister's questions, as always. Project 5 is due on Wednesday. I've been getting some questions, but I want to check in with everybody to see how it's going, how you're finding it, any, of course, questions or issues that you're running across, but also just sort of observations about Project 5 that you'd like to share. Yeah. Okay. Oh, having 2 weeks helped a lot? Good. That's the intent, because, yeah, it's more difficult than those, like, command line projects, just, like, parsing some text or whatever, yeah. Good, I'm glad that was helpful. Keep that in mind for the pacing of the course before I offer it again. See here, I'm confused on the print writer implementation and need some advice if I'm doing the XML parsing correctly. Okay, let's see here. Without sort of looking at the code, and of course, Greg, I'm happy to follow up, in DMs or offline, but, okay, well, that's right, yeah, parsing to the, well, so then, if you remember back to Project 2, when you wrote your text dumper and your text writer, out of the box, the program came with this sample implementation of text dumper and text writer, text dumper and text parser that took the abstract types. There was a constructor, a parameter where you say, oh yeah, here is some writer that you want to write to, or here's some reader that you want to read from. And I encourage you to follow that pattern with your XML parser and XML dumper, because that print writer that you pass to the XML dumper, sure, in Project 4 that was a file writer, but in Project 5, when what you want to do is dump the XML to the response, the HTTP servlet response, you're going to get the print writer that comes from that HTTP servlet response. So your XML dumper will be most effective if it doesn't care what kind of print writer that it takes or what kind of writer it takes, as long as it just takes one. And it should be fine, right? The XML transformation API, the stream destination, what's that called? It's the source, and then whatever the thing that is transformed can take any old print writer. And so this is cool, right? Because it means that your XML dumper doesn't care where where the XML is ultimately dumped to, which is fine. I think that's a nice example of like single responsibility, right? An object should do one thing and do it well. Did that help, Greg? I don't know if that was the
Sort of. I'm trying to post some of the code in the chat here. Let me try to send it as two messages real quick.
okay. Yeah.
Because I think it is an API related question. So the first one's like, I'm basically um using the transformer factory for
Yep.
like the dumping. And I
Yeah.
think that's okay as long as I can hand it basically an instance of maybe a string or some kind of a writer object like you mentioned.
Yeah.
On the parsing,
Yeah. What's your
it's a
result?
little too long. Let me see if I can trim this down a little bit. I'm using the document builder instead of the Sax parser
Yep.
factory.
That's
So I didn't know if,
that's probably, yeah. That's probably easiest. Yeah.
okay, and here, let me see if I can trim this a bit. Sorry. I probably sound cringe talking on the computer here. Hold on. So that's sort of what I'm doing, but I don't know if that's correct. And I wanted to make sure that wasn't a faux pas.
Okay, so you're good. This is a little bit more document builder. Yeah, error handler from the helper. That's all. That's all good. Yeah, and so then what is the issue that you're seeing here exactly?
Well, so when I try to use the REST client to kind of like parse the documentation, I'm trying to figure out how I should parse that and send it to the front end. And I guess the front end is like from the servlet to the REST client and the REST client to the project, right?
Yep.
So I'm assuming inside the project, we need to do some sort of a pretty printer from the airline that's parsed from the REST client that's received from the servlet, correct?
Yep.
So we need to do some deserialization or, right?
Well,
I'm assuming we just do
the,
XML.
the airline should come across as XML. So we'd use the XML parser and I think the code that we hacked together we refactored a couple weeks ago
Yeah.
did this, right. It took I think there was a text format, but the XML format uses the parser to turn it into an airline, and then like the main method can use the airline to pretty print it.
Okay, so I think I'm on the right track.
Yeah.
I just am worried about what takes what and what spits what out because it's kind of all a spaghetti code of refactoring right now, and I'm kind of up in the air getting my tests to kind of work before I start refactoring Project 5. So it's a
Yeah,
lot.
fair enough. Yeah, let me see if I can find, here it is. I don't know if it would help, but for me, I always go back to the picture here. So, for instance, like it's interesting, I don't really call it out here, but like this stuff here in the middle, like what is sent back here is the XML, and then the client takes the XML and turns it into an airline. And then Project 5, I guess, never mind. This drawing, I guess, doesn't really lend itself to that. But yeah, right. I mean, the whole idea here is the wire format is the XML. And so then what you write back to the client is the XML, and you do that by sending the print writer for the HTTP servlet response to your XML dumper over here on the server side.
Yeah, I think I got it. I'll just have to write some tests and see if they pass. And I
Yep,
appreciate you answering the question.
you're welcome. Sweet, no, I appreciate you diving into that. Good stuff. Okay. Any other questions before we dive into it? Yeah. Hearing none. Awesome. Okay. So let's talk about the final project in the course, Project 6, the small device application and Android application. So I've always ended the course with a graphical user interface. I've used a number of technologies over the years, all Java based, and what I've used for the last several is Android. Um, I think it makes a nice capstone for the course, and it allows you to use all your Java skills and your IDE skills, because we'll see the Android Studio IDE is IntelliJ with some more stuff in it, to develop an Android application. So something that is interactive, something that's more than a command line, something that feels like the kind of tool that people would use. And so then the last phase of the project is doing exactly that. So the idea here is that we're going to be writing an Android application to have a user interface which is meant to be small, and so you get to work within the form factor of a phone. And what you'll be doing is writing an Android app that has all the functionality of the previous assignment. So through the app, you'll be able to create an airline, add flights to the airline, pretty print the airline as flights, search for the flights, all that kind of stuff. However, the app is all self-contained, so you won't be using the REST API, so there's no REST API, there's no servlet, all that kind of stuff stayed with Project 5. In Project 6, though, you will be using a lot of your other classes, like, you might use your Pretty Printer, but you'll be using, as you'll see, you need persistent, so you'll use your XML dumper or your text dumper. You can use either in this project. So, this is meant to be an exercise in creativity, so I don't have a lot of specific details about how the app should look. I want to leave that largely up to you. However, it needs to be familiar enough and usable enough so that I can grade it. And by the way, I grade this one, and so then the graders will be working on your final exams. I'll be grading your Android applications, and so then I'm old. Use a large print or something like that. I don't know. Make it look like a black screen with green writing on it, like it's an Apple IIc or something. Anyway. Don't do that. It's too much work. Anyway, the application itself, other than having a help menu or a help button that displays the README, there is really not too much else that I specify, other than of course error handling. And so then make sure that you let me see a parenthesis there. Make sure that there's a an error dialog box or a toast or something like that that describes the error. Your application shouldn't crash. It shouldn't have to go look at the log file or something to figure out what went wrong. And that if you are going to use dialogues, please use it for small pieces of information. It's pretty unusable when you have like a pop-up or a toast or whatever that contains the entire contents of your airline. Students have done that over the years and they've lost points in terms of usability. So something like the contents of the airline should be on its own screen as opposed to a pop-up within another screen. But otherwise, use your creativity, use your imagination. So design a user interface that, of course, is possible to do, and saying given the tools that you have, but also feel free to make something that looks good to you. Okay. Now, for the Android project, there is another new code base. And I didn't put together. I referenced the video from the last time I taught the course in the summer. And let's see here, I linked it here to tonight's class. This first screencast here is actually a link off to last summer where I went through the process of setting up Android Studio, which is the development environment for Android. Nothing has really changed since last year, but it's kind of a lengthy process, and because the classes are shorter than they are in the summer, I didn't want to take a lot of time having you all watch my slow old machine download gigabytes of Android stuff. Over the weekend I asked that you try it out. Did anybody encounter any problems while getting Android Studio set up? Cool, good to know. If you haven't done it yet, please watch the video, and please do this quickly. It's rare, but sometimes someone has an environment in which Android Studio and the Android emulator don't work. Especially if you have an older laptop or maybe one that you've kind of hacked on or customized or whatever. We want to make sure that everybody can get up and running. So please watch the video and/or follow the instructions here at developer.android.com. This is This is okay. Spotlight Week on Widgets. This is a great place to get started. It has all sorts of information. You want to download Android Studio and go from there. So I just came in. Material UI themes. If you want, yeah, if you like Material UI, go for it. I think that should work. Everything you should be able to. Question: what APK should we consider installing? Goes over in the. I mean, like what version of the APK? Like 35, I think it's. Yeah. So do what I did in the video. I'm pretty sure it's 35 is the one. Actually, I know the 35 is the one that I'm using. And so therefore, that's the one that you should make sure that works, because that's what I'll be running on my machine. Yeah. Nice. Okay. So I'm going to walk through. I'm going to start off by creating the project there, and the project is going to reside in your source code. So that it's under version control and actually so you can submit it and stuff. So there are a couple of important things here in terms of how you create your project. And so then you probably followed, if you followed along in the video, you figured out that instead of a phone bill, it's an airline this term. But I thought I'd start there, and then and show you how to do that. Before I do that, I just want to walk through the rest of the assignment. We'll see probably, I don't know, next week or something when I get back to this, how you need to add dependencies to the build.gradle so that you can use the airline classes. Oh yeah, There is a requirement to persist the data in your application. So if I kill the app, if I swipe up to stop the app, if I relaunch it, it should still have the airline information that was written before. And I encourage you to use the internal storage mechanism to do that. The nice thing about Android is that it uses standard Java APIs, so you get things like a Java IO file for the storage there on Android. So that should be pretty straightforward to use. Um, and yeah, so because the Android application requires Android development SDKs and things like that, it can't be run on the PSU machines. However, I still want it submitted from the PSU machines. So run Gradle clean and Gradle build and make sure that they run cleanly without an error on your personal machine before submitting. And that okay, sorry, this is a typo in the assignment. I think I just forgot to delete it. Yeah, the submit script is working pretty well these days. I think there was a bug in it a little while ago. But yeah, yeah, okay, in terms of how I grade it, I'm going to get the zip file that ends up being created when you submit it, and then I'm going to extract it, and then I'll run this exact build command, so make sure that this works in your environment. Oh yeah, I'm not going to. I'm going to exclude the linter and stuff. And so if you have warnings, don't worry about it. You try to look at them, try to clean them up. But I'm not going to require you to clean all that stuff up. I don't run any of the automated tests for your Android project. You can write automated tests, and it's cool, it's good, and everything like that. But it's a little much for this point at the course. So there's no code coverage requirements. You're done with that. You don't need to write unit or the integration tests, the Android tests for your project. That's totally cool. And same thing with Java docs, right? You've already demonstrated that you know how to write Java docs, so I'm not going to assess that as part of the Android project. It's really all about your app and what it does. And so then what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the emulator, this version of the emulator, Pixel 5 API 35, and I'll show you how I do that tonight. And then I'll install I'll build and install the application, and then I'll test it. And then I'll put it through its paces and keep track of what worked and what didn't work. And then when I'm done, I'm gonna say uninstall all, and that's it. So again, in terms of submitting the project, it doesn't work on the PSU Linux machines because the stuff is installed. That's fine. So you got to use some other machine, and if you don't have access to a machine where you can run it, please let me know, and we'll work something out. But you got to let me know soon. If you tell me the day before it's due, I'll give you a funny look and not be as accommodating. But please submit the code from the PSU machines by running the submit.sh script with Project 6. What the script does is it assumes that the project resides in a directory called airline-android. Note that unlike in the previous projects where there were some restrictions on what you could submit for Project 6, it'll just have everything that's in your checkout. So it'll have your Gradle files, all the XML configuration, icons, whatever. All those things get submitted with Project 6. So again, there's not much in the way of requirements on the UI other than you have a help menu and that it's easy enough for me to figure out. Any questions on sort of the requirements for Project 6? Was a question about we're great on JavaDoc and Project 5, right? You betcha. So, yep. Okay then. Well, now let's take a look at getting started with creating the Android application and everything. So I've already installed the I was going to say the latest version of Android Studio. It's not technically that. It's the version of Android Studio that works on my machine. I'm going to open it up. And Android Studio is a version of is IntelliJ that's customized for Android development. So I'm going to hide the let's see here, the panels there. And I'm going to use dark mode. I'm going to because it looks better, you know. Okay, and it's also it's not the like ancient arrangement stuff like the classic UI. You're going to see me fumble with like the new UI, which I probably just got to get used to. But anyway, okay. So here, so the workflow for creating this is different, right? In projects, you know, when you created your project 1 and you created your project 5, there was like this script that you ran the PSU machines, and it created a Maven project for you. Now we're doing something different. We're using Android Studio to create the project because it'll help you get started. Yes, I'm going out on the dark side, and yeah, I am your father. I know. Yeah, I get it. Yeah. Oh, sorry, Daniel had a question. So all the info is local. Do you mean the persisted airline is stored locally on the phone on the device? Yes, that is correct. Yeah. So again, there's no REST API. You're not making calls over the internet or anything like that. Let's keep it simple. We've got a couple weeks to do it. So instead, what you'll do is just persist stuff locally. Okay. Well, let's get started. So we're gonna create a new project first. And you know, it gives you a bunch of project templates to work with. And what we want is the empty views activity. This is a nice simple one to get started with, and it allows, and the template has Java code associated with it. Some of the other templates you can only write in this Kotlin language, which is, well, I'll explain that while we're waiting for something. But anyway, so you want to create a empty views activity. As you can see, there's a whole bunch of different kinds. You can have like wearable OS, television, stuff like that. But we just want empty views. And now you need to provide some information about it. So the name of the project is, we'll just call it Airline. And the package name is going to be the package that you're always using. So edu pdxcs joy and Whitlock for me. Now the save location is in the checkout of your source code. So you are creating the project next to your airline and your airline web and your katas and all that kind of stuff. So here for me, it's the the Joy of Coding PDX, the mine 2025, and we want to call this Airline Android. And again, it's really important that this is what the name of your project is, because this is what the submit script expects it to be. We want the language to be Java, not Kotlin. And the minimum SDK, I'm going to try 33, although I had a problem with this earlier, so we might need to go back and change that in the project. And we want to use the Groovy DSL, the build.gradle, not the build.gradle.kotlin stuff. Okay, so for all this, and basically this is like create a new project, and then you do finish. And what Android Studio does now is that it creates a new project. It generates a whole bunch of source code. And oh, there you go. I'm going to make it nice and big. And okay, so it's generating some source code. It's opening some things. As you can see, it's now using Gradle. So Gradle is the successor to Maven. And unlike Maven, where Maven was built and optimized around having like very similar looking Java projects, like I'm creating a jar file or I'm creating a web application. Gradle is much more open-ended. It's much more like Make, where you can do all sorts of things. And so then it's a better fit than Maven for building something complex like an Android application. And Android Studio knows all about it. So it created these files. It is now configuring itself in order to be able to run it, and it looks like it's happy. And so this is good. I've got source code, and there's no red in it. Everything looks pretty good. Great. That's awesome. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to commit. Well, actually, let's take a look at what we've got first, and then we'll commit it to version control. So okay. We are looking at, well, I guess the Android view of things, which I kind of like, but let's go to maybe the view that we're used to, which is project. Okay, so now this Android, so as you can see, this is IntelliJ, right? It's something that ought to be familiar to everybody by now. So here we have an Android, the airline Android project here in that directory, and it's got a bunch of subdirectories and files and stuff, including the Gradle W, which is like Maven W. The whole idea is it's the wrapper for running Gradle. And it's got the IntelliJ files. It's got .gradle, which is where like certain Gradle artifacts are downloaded. And it's got some configuration like the Gradle directory, and it's got this app directory. So this is the application inside your this is your Android application right here. And when you switch the view to Android, which is what it starts with, it basically focuses everything right on the app, which when you're developing the application, this makes a lot of sense. So there are a couple of directories inside this app directory. The first one is called manifests. This is something that describes the application itself. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. I'll talk a little bit more about it in the slides. But this is not something you need to change. But this basically says some information, some metadata about your application. Like, hey, here's what its name is. It's airline, and look what theme it has. And it also describes what's called the main activity. So this is like the main method, right? This is like the home screen for your application. And what you can do is, well, I guess it specifies the name as main activity, and can you navigate into it? Oh, we can navigate into it. And then you can see the source code for the activity. We'll come back to this in a little bit. But anyway, Android Manifest is what it's all about. Not something you'll need to work with. Then it's got a bunch of Java source code. And this is kind of familiar, right? Okay, you've got packages and stuff. Oh yeah, here's where the main activity resides in a package called eupdx-cs-joy Whitlock. And there are also tests that are created out of the box. So there's a unit test, which really doesn't do anything. It just doesn't assert equals on stuff. So that's not terribly interesting. And then there's also an instrumented test. So there is this there's this whole API for testing Android applications, which is nice and neat, and kind of beyond what I want to cover in the course. I think there's lecture content on it. Just to be clear, here in the last couple of weeks of class, I don't expect you to get into Android testing. I want you to focus on development, right? It's fun, and you've done plenty of testing with your other projects, and so I think you've learned that lesson. So we're just going to focus on the main activity tonight, and then any other classes that we create in the main part of the application. So this is your Java code. So what the Java code does, this is the logic behind your app, right? So when the user does something with it, it interacts with it, clicks a button or swipes or performs some operation. Well, it's Java code that executes under behind the scenes. And again, in the lecture, I talk about the whole the bytecode, the bytecode of the virtual machine. That's all. It's all behind it. All sorts of good stuff there. And what I like about Android is because it's Java, if it's nice in the course, it's a language that you've gotten used to, and so then hopefully you can figure out the APIs pretty easily. So that's your Java source code. And Java is great for behavior, but another important part of an Android application is what you see, is the layout of the widgets and the screens and all that kind of stuff. And while those things can be configured in Java, the code is really hard to read. It gets ugly after a while. And people figured out that it's much better to use, what we really want is some sort of visual editor for it. And then when it comes to persisting the widgets and their layout and how everything is configured, XML is a better format for that. And so in the resource, the resource directory, there are all these different, this isn't code, these are just resource files that have things like icons, right? I think that's what is here in, here you've got, and then you've got, I guess the drawables are icons also, XML files that specify all that. But I think the one that's most interesting is the layout. So this is the layout. Let's look at the raw form first and look at how it's rendered. So this is an XML file that represents this Hello World application. And I'll show you the Hello World application here in just a little bit. But I think I just want to preview it by saying there is this text view which represents a widget, just a text widget. It displays some text, it displays Hello World there in the UI. And so you use these XML files to represent and persists the configuration of the UI. And the activity main is tied to, well, the main activity. And so you can navigate between the two by clicking the C for class, by clicking the related Java class. And it goes to the main activity. So the whole idea is that this visual layout here in activity main.xml is through this context XML element is tied to the main activity, and that means that the behavior for this UI here is specified by main activity. So this is some of the code. We'll look at what values are in a little bit, but let's commit this code to GitHub. No, wait, commit changes, create, no. I should have, oops, did I not put it in the right place or something? Why don't I have, oops, what did I put it? Where is it? Oh, that's weird. What happened there? Where does this reside? Oops. Project, Joy of Coding, 1 in 2025. Oh. Oh, that's not the right place at all. Okay. Sorry. I've got to then, I created in the wrong place. I was not careful about where I created it. So now I got to move it. So I didn't actually create it in my my checkout after all. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to get rid of this thing. And I'm going to remove from recent projects and got to move it now to where my, yes. So let's see here. Here's really where my, yep, where my code is. And instead, it put it in Joy of Coding PDX, Joy of Coding PDX, Winter 2025. Yeah, it's right here. So I just need to move it from there to here. And now I'm going to open it over here. So sorry, that was a mistake on my part. Look. And I am going to say airline Android. I think I can just open it from here. I think it'll figure it out. Let's see here. No, I trust it. Let's see here. Yeah, it's complaining about Git being too old. That's fine. Building it. Probably need to go through some of the stuff again. So again, I wasn't paying attention when I created it. Yeah, I just put it in the wrong place. So actually, while I'm here, rm-dir creating winter 2025. Yes. Okay. Apologize for that little detour. Okay, everything looks pretty good. Okay, so now I'm going to go and I want to commit the changes. Great, it has a bunch of unversioned files. I'm just going to add them all to yeah, to GitHub here. As you can see, there's a whole bunch of things. I think that's all right. Yeah, added airline Android application. Push. Oh wait. Oh wait, so we've got all those changes. Okay, I guess I didn't. I think all of these. What am I looking at here? Okay, that looks pretty good. It looks like it got all of the things from the. Yeah, I missed my commit from here again. So I think, yeah, I think I want all of these to be ignored. Okay. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Android application. Good, good, good. Yep, so I added all that source code. So again, you want you want your code under version control, and it should be there next to all your other code. Okay, so I've created my project. I put it into to Git. I pushed it up to GitHub. This is all awesome. We'll do more committing later. But now I want to run the application. So in Android, you want to be able to run it on a phone so you can interact with it, so that you can exercise it and test it. The really nice thing about Android is that, well, Android Studio, and actually just the Android SDK, comes with, so you have the ability to create virtual devices. So you can test your Android application and exercise your Android application on a variety of different devices, different sizes, and everything like that. And of course, it helps. The device manufacturers want people to test their apps on their devices. People want to buy their devices, so they provide these nice emulators. So we're going to add a new type of device. We're going to have a virtual device. And it's going to be a Pixel 5 with a reasonably sized screen. And we want to use API 35. I already downloaded it. The first time you use it, you've got it downloaded, and it takes several minutes and stuff. But I want to, I skipped all of that, so I already downloaded it. And we'll create it. We'll just give it a name of Pixel 5 API 35. And now it goes off and creates it. And now I can start the virtual device. I'm going to get rid of that. And so what this is doing now is it's starting the emulator. And you're going to see what you get is something which is essentially a phone that's running here virtually on your development laptop. And the fact that all this works, I got to admit, is pretty impressive. So Android Studio over the years has gotten much better about managing all these devices, so it'll download the right system images and everything else that you need to run your device. However, it does take a couple of minutes, especially on my computer. Oh, but there it is. The phone is there, and it's booting up. It gives you something that looks like a phone, and this is actually running the phone operating system here virtually on your development laptop. And so it's booting up for the first time, and so it takes a few minutes or a few moments for it to do its thing. But you see how well integrated this is into Android Studio and the development environment. And this is what you want as an app developer, right? You want to be able to quickly, change some stuff in your code, add some stuff to your user interface, and then deploy it to your, to the app, to the device of your choice, and then work with it. Any questions so far? Anybody playing along at home and encountering challenges? Yeah. I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Can we use CSS for styles? No, not exactly. There are themes. The concepts are very similar, but it's not CSS syntax. Now there might be. I don't know if Material UI uses CSS or not. So no, I don't think so. But you can learn, and there are tons of tutorials out there and stuff like that for for learning how to style Android. This is where I was getting a little nervous, like, oh, is it taking too long? I don't know. It probably is. I just need to be patient. So as I was saying a few minutes ago, when we created the project, there are two options for, just like Java, just like the Java virtual machine, there is a virtual machine on Android. It was the Dalvik virtual machine, I think was the name of it at one point. It executes bytecode. And what that allows you to do is have source code in, well, really any programming language, as long as there's a compiler from that source code down to the bytecode. It can, your Android app can be built from that source. Oh, good. Looks like it's finally started. And so initially, the first language that was used for Android development was Java, because it was the most popular language at the time, especially among, well, actually, no, it was the most popular language at the time. And it had the great libraries. Everyone was familiar with it and everything. However, the Android folks and Google, that was a major backer of it, ran into problems with Oracle, who bought Java, and copyright issues and ownership and legal issues around it. And so they decided to make a different language called Kotlin, which is very much like Java. It has a lot of the same concepts. But was invented really for the sole purpose of writing Android applications. Of course, you can write any application in Kotlin, but it's ideal for, or it's optimized for Android. But we're not going to be doing that. But if you see Kotlin, that's what Kotlin's all about. We're going to be writing in Java instead. Well, the phone is finally booted up, and I'm so glad. And exactly that, it's a phone, right? And you've got apps on the phone. So I can open up Google Chrome here in my phone. Oh, my machine's probably working harder because I'm sharing my screen. So yeah, it's everything's hard at work on my machine. But yeah, you can boot up Google Chrome here, and the emulator is is attached to things like the internet and the and peripheral devices and stuff. It can use the camera, and it can use location services, all sorts of great stuff like that. Whew, I tried this before class. It was not this slow. Again, probably because I'm sharing my screen. So here we go. And so yeah, now you can, and here again, this is Chrome, and so you can go through the same workflow as if you were, working on a physical device. It's a little bit slower because it's, running on my laptop. But yeah, and so then, and this just works, right? Because it's just emulating the entire device, and now you've got all the stuff, and it'll, okay, great. It tells you about the weather and probably stuff about politics or whatever it is that the AI is. Oops. What's that question? I'm curious about what Lake Oswego. Okay, great, super swell. Anyway, so you've got you've got an Android app, and up here, actually, I'm going to make it a little bigger. So I'm going to undock it, put it in its own window. I guess it doesn't make it much bigger, but I like it undocked, so you have more screen real estate for developing code. And then it's got things like well, you can adjust the volume if it's playing music. You can rotate it left, rotate it right. You can take a screenshot. And then you've got, if you're familiar with Android, you get those, what used to be those 3 buttons on the screen. And so you can go to the home menu here, which brings it back to this. You can go to this view, so you can kill. You can end processes. You can drag things off to end them, and then you're back here at the home screen. So it's like, it's a phone running here emulated. So we just saw that it comes with this emulator comes with some apps out of the box. But what we want to do is we want to run the application here that's in our project. And so you do that the IntelliJ way, right? You've got a run configuration right here for your app, and you can select which device you want. Now you have one here, but you can create other ones if you really want. There's no need to for this class. If you have your own Android device, you can pair with it using Wi-Fi. You can also plug it in via USB. Great stuff like that. Again, not required for this course. And what you can do then is say run the app on the device. So we click run. And what this will do is that it will build the Gradle. It'll use Gradle to build the application, and then deploy it to the device. I'm going to watch it go by because I tried this before. This might fail again. I don't know. Let's get kind of further. But yeah, I mean, the first time you build it, there are a lot of steps. And it's using Gradle in the background. It did fail. Interesting. So if you see this, it's complaining that that there is a dependency. This activity dependency requires version 35, which is funny because I didn't have a problem over the weekend when I tried it. So I need to go and change the, how did I do this before? Is the SDK manager? This is 35. No, it must have been, this has got 35. It must, so I think when we created the project, we should have created the project with version 35. SDK locations. Oh, how did I change that before? Gradle version. Search. SDK version. I don't want anything. I want search everything. So we did install. I installed API 35. I guess for the project I needed to change it. Maybe someone in chat is telling me what I need to change. Nope, it's just commentary there, which is fine. Sorry, somewhere here in, I don't think it'd be in preferences. That would be like, yeah, this. It would be in the project settings. Oh, I did it before. Project structure, SDK locations, modules. Oh, here it is under modules. Compile SDK version, not 34, but 35. And I think if I change this, now everything will rebuild, but I think it'll do better. Okay, so that did its thing. Now I'm going to try to redeploy it again. Yeah, let's see here. Looks like it's getting further this time. Okay, good, that built. And now it's saying launching on devices. So now if I go back to the emulator here, we'll watch this go in the background. And so, what it's doing is it built the application, now it's deploying the application to the device. And there it is. If you can read that, it says Hello World. So now this is the Android application. If I go back to the home screen, I've got this now green Android icon, and when I click on it, it brings the app up again. So this is the app. And so this is what you do. You build the app, you deploy it to the phone, and now you can interact with it. So that's sort of the first checkpoint along the way. So make sure that you can create the project, that you can create the emulator, run the emulator, and deploy the app to the emulator. Any questions about what we've seen so far? Okay. So now, let's start looking at the code and start looking at how we can change this application to have it do more things. So, there's a question in chat. We can do this on iPhone too. Well, not with Android. You can't. You would use the equivalent tools for iPhones, and they wouldn't be in Java. So, yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think I would imagine. I haven't done any iPhone development, but I would imagine that it's largely the same, right? You have some IDE that lets you design the application. You have emulators of various Apple devices that you can emulate, and you'd have stuff like this. Great, yeah, Swift or whatever. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay, we're not getting into that. It's like, everybody behave yourself. Nice. Okay. Now that you've seen the application, let's take a look at some of the source code. So we were looking at this activity main.xml before, and we were looking at the XML view, the raw XML view. But as we see, we can do this side-by-side view also. Let's get a little bit more screen real estate here. And over here on the left, we have the XML, and over here on the right, we have a visual editor for that XML. So we can do things like double-click here, and actually, can I edit the? No, I guess I'll do it the other way. Then. Over here, what I can do is I can get the properties on this. Actually, wait a second. Let's see, look at the attributes. Things are getting a little hard to read, I apologize. And so I believe this is called text. So you can select a widget here, and then you can see like all the attributes of it, and you can search. You can search for an attribute named text. And I think here, text, right here, the value is hello world. So you can change it here to say, hello class. And so I hit return, and so you notice that it changed here in the visual editor, and it changed over here in the XML. So it went from, so now we've got a change bar right here. It used to be hello world, now it's hello class. And so the whole idea is that you use the visual editor to arrange some things, and you'll see them reflected over here in the XML. So I made the simple change, and now what I can do is I can redeploy the app with the simple change. It'll rebuild the app and then send it to the emulator. Did that, so it stopped the one that was running, and now it'll relaunch it again, and I think I'll pop up over here. Yep, there it is. It's launching again, and now it says hello class. Okay, all right, so this is what you do. Make some changes in the code, and then when you're ready to see those changes reflected, you know, they come over there. Now, over here, I find it a little easier to understand things when you see both the left and the right. So over here in the XML, you've got the top level element, which is this constraint layout. And that's basically saying, well, if you watch the lecture, there are all these different kinds of layouts. I don't really go into constraint layout too much in the lecture because it's kind of hard to deal with just as XML. It makes more sense when you're dealing with it over here in the WYSIWYG editor. But the whole idea is that you have widgets inside your layout, and they are constrained against each other, so represented by these accordions, these springs that go between various anchor points. So what I can do is I can add a new widget here. I want to add a button, and I'm going to add a button over here, and I'm going to and I want to anchor it to various things. So I want to and this is where you're going to see me struggle here because it's always difficult for me to get all this stuff aligned. Nope. Actually, can I just remove that constraint? Nope. Come on. Ah, gets me every time. There we go. I think if I just do this instead, yes, great. And then if I anchor this one to here, 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 anchor this one to there we go. And then anchor this one, this one to here. Nope. Oh, maybe that's okay. I don't know. It's probably going to be complaining about some stuff, or maybe not. Is that okay? Well, let's. So one of the things about constraint layout, which is I don't know why I don't really like it that much, is that it's kind of I've always found it kind of finicky, where it's like if you get it right, it looks fine, but otherwise it doesn't. But let's see how this one looks. So I'm going to redeploy it. All right. So you see what I did? I used the visual editor to try to anchor some things. Let's see what it looks like when it's actually deployed. Because sometimes what you see isn't always what you get. Well, actually, that looks pretty good. Nice. Okay, so I just added a button to my application. And that's nice. I've got that. I'm going to change the text here. Instead of just saying button, I'm going to say click me. Great. So when I change the XML, it changes the preview also, and it changes it all over here. Right? This is good stuff. Hide those attributes. Now, over here on the left, I notice I've got some stuff underlined in yellow, which means that there is an issue. It's saying hard-coded string hello class should use a string resource. Okay, so you want ideally you want the display strings, the strings, the text that the user sees, to not be hard-coded in the source code, but instead be off in some string file, a resource file, that can then be translated into different languages, things like that. And so then Android Studio is telling you about this, and so you can fix it by saying extract string resource. And so then it has this nice refactoring, which will go and create a new resource with the value hello class in this file strings.xml. And I'm going to do the same thing for ClickMe. Here, I'm going to say extract string resource into ClickMe, and the same thing, add to strings.xml. And actually, now we can navigate into this strings as a string resource. And here it is. There's this little XML file that now has these two string resources. And so then, okay, great. It makes it so that we could translate it easily. We're not going to do that. as part of the class. But the whole idea is that your display strings really ought to be a resource so that it can be translated easily, and so that you're not just the same way that you want to have magic constants in your source code. Just like the resource, same thing like you're putting your README in a resource file. It just makes things look cleaner. Well, great. This is looking pretty good. I don't see any other warning. Actually, there is another warning. What is that one warning? Layout fidelity warning. Let's see what it's telling me about. Where is that warning? No errors. Okay. Cool. Nice. Okay, people are having fun putting emojis in there. Well, go figure it out. Maybe it'll work. Okay, so then we added this, and now I think it's time to commit this code. So let's see here. Added a button and extracted some strings into sources. Nice. So this one I don't want to add. There we go. Change that. Nice. Okay. So we have a button here now, and when I click the button, nothing happens. Well, I want that to change. So when, as you may recall, the logic of the program of the app is implemented in Java, but the visual stuff is implemented here in the layout in the XML. So I need to bridge the two. And the way I do that is the following. There is an attribute of the button. So let me go click on the button. And here, it says here, the name of the attribute is onClick. OnClick. And I'm going to, you can specify the name of a method to invoke. I'm going to say hello. Now, it's going to complain about this because it doesn't exist. It's looking for a method called sayHello on that main activity, and the main activity, which is, again, this is the Java code that backs this, this screen. And so I'm going to correct that with saying, hey, create sayHello in the main activity. And so now this creates a new method here in the activity that is invoked when the button is clicked. So again, we added an onClicked attribute of the button object here to say, oh yeah, when you're clicked, invoke the sayHello method, and you can navigate easily by command control or command navigate. So now I've got this button which says hello. It takes a view object here, which is the button that was clicked. I don't think I really need that. And in response, I'm going to use something called a toast. A toast pops up a brief message. So let's see here. So toast. Create a new toast, make text. The context is going to be this. The text is going to be, hello everyone. And you can specify what length. I don't want length short, I want length long. Length long. Yeah, great. And now I'm going to deploy my app again. It's going to rebuild it with these changes. It'll deploy it to the phone, and then we'll see what happens, the result. Okay, the app is running again. Now there's a click me. And when I click it, it pops up a little thing saying, hello, everyone. So this is down here, the toast. And hello, everyone. Again, we can click it again, and then it'll say, hello, everyone. So those are some fundamentals of an Android application. You can use the visual editor to create various widgets, and we'll see a couple more here before we're done. Both layouts and various widgets, and then you can assign listeners like onClick. There's a lot more in the lecture notes about the various kinds of listeners and the various kinds of widgets. To then respond to user interaction with that widgets. with that widget. And then what you can do is say, oh, here is the Java method that ought to be invoked when this button is clicked, for instance. And you can have other, other events like, oh, I'm typing text into something, and you can do spell check, or you can, make sure that that all the numbers that represents a valid number, things like that. So how does that sound? Any observations? Any questions? Comments? Hearing none, I think it's time for a break. Let's take 10 minutes, and then we'll come back and do some more. Okay, so first part of class, we started hacking around on this Android application. We created a new project in Android Studio, got the emulator all set up. We saw how we could build the application, deploy it to the emulator. We could, and it's fairly simple, right? We created a button, and we registered a listener on that button so that when you click on it, it prints hello, everyone. Now what I want to do is I want to add a second screen to this application, a second activity that displays that is going to eventually be a calculator, right? And so it'll help us get experience building some more Android application. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new activity in my application, and Android Studio makes that really easily by saying new activity and basic views activity, I believe. Yeah, this is basic views. And we're going to call it calculator activity. Yeah, calculator activity. And layout name will be, so this will create the Java class and the XML layout. The layout is not a launcher activity, meaning it's not a main activity. I'm going to have it be in the same package, and it's going to be in Java. So great. Okay, I'm going to create that. Click finish here. Oh, yep, it generates the sources. Say, hey, do you want to add them all to Git? And, all that fragment stuff? What's all this here? I don't need all that. Well, oh, interesting. Yeah, well, we'll clean all that stuff up at some point. Maybe basic views is not what I wanted. Maybe it's too late. Just my notes. Did I say what kind of activity to create? Oh, not basic views. I want empty views. So let's cancel that. Don't add it. And instead, I'm going to go back. Sorry, folks, that's not what I wanted. Let's revert all these changes. Oh yeah, I added all sorts of stuff. Roll back all those changes. And I don't want all of this stuff either. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Seriously, let's delete all this stuff. Everything should be okay. This is the nice thing about, version control. Yep, everything is gone. Sorry, we'll try this again. I want to create a new, and I always get this wrong, a new Android Studio, new project, why am I missing here? I want to say new activity. Empty views activity is what I want, right? Yeah, empty views activity. Oops. It's acting really weird. Empty views activity. Here we go. Okay. I want to call it calculator activity. And yes, I want to generate a layout file, and I want it to be called activity calculator. Great, I want in that package, I want it to be in Java. This is much simpler. Great, I have two files, that's all I wanted. Didn't want all that other stuff. So yeah, it's that empty empty views, not the basic views. Yeah, empty views activity. Okay, so I do want to add these to Git, and it's got to sync the Gradle file. So it created these new activities, and so now it's running Gradle again to make sure everything builds. And yes, it does. It's pretty happy here. However, I'm not doing anything with this activity yet. So I've created it sort of hanging out there. It's never going to be displayed. So now what I want to do is I want to display it. So I'm going to go back to my activity here, and I'm going to do the following. I'm going to, instead of saying click me, I want this to be launch calculator. So I am going to, I guess I'm going to go into this, and I'm going to change it. Instead of be click me, I'm going to say launch calculator. Oops, did I spell it correctly? And I want to rename this. Can I rename that from here? Oh, I can. Great. I'm going to say launch calculator. And yeah, I want to search in comments and strings. Let's do that. So change it there. And so now if I go back to activity main, it says launch calculator. Looks like that found it okay. That's good. And I also want to change the, oops, how come I don't have, oops, I messed up. I didn't mean to do that. Sorry. I think I might have reverted too much. I think I might have inadvertently blown away those changes. That's okay though. Because yeah, I don't have on my main activity. Oh, I no longer have my method that displayed that toast. So sorry that didn't get committed to GitHub. We'll just do the same thing here again though, where we'll add an on click to there's the on click, and here we want it to be, we'll say launch calculator. Launch calculator. Great. And once again, it's saying there is no method called launch calculator, so I'll create that method, launch calculator. And now what I want to do here is instead of just displaying a toast, I want to start that new activity. So I've got one activity, my main activity, and it's going to then start a new activity which will display a different screen. And the way you transition between activities in Android is using something called an intent. Now I go into this in the lecture a lot, but I like the idea of an intent. Because an intent is like, well, it's an intent to perform some action, some operation. So you can say things like, hey, would you, display this image? Would you call this phone number? Would you, display this, I want to browse to this page, this URL, those kinds of things. And the way Android works is that there is this centralized system that handles intents. And this is how you get the behavior in an application where you can say, oh yeah, view this location on a map, and it pops up. It's like, well, which map application do you want to use? That whole which map application do you want to use is built into the operating system for the for Android. So that's like generic intents. But you can also use intents to launch one activity from another very explicitly. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to create a new intent, and I'm just going to call it intent. And I'm going to say, the following. I'm going to make a new intent. An intent has several things in its constructor. It's kind of hard to read. The one I'm going to use is this package context and class. So I'm going to say this. So this activity is the context in which the other activity is launched, and then you give it the class for the new activity, which is the calculator activity. Class. So that's my intent. So I'm creating this object that basically says, oh yeah, go start the activity. And so now I merely call the start activity method, which is inherited from the parent class here, this app.compat activity. I'm going to send it the intent. And now when I run my application, I should see that when I click the button, it'll launch that new activity. Well, actually, well, yeah, that'll do that. And by the way, I didn't even look to see what my calculator activity looked like. What does it look like? Oh, it's completely blank. Well, that's not terribly interesting. But let's see here. When you click launch calculator, Oh yeah, it's a completely blank activity. Not very interesting. I can use the back arrow to go back here, but let's make this a little bit more interesting. So I am going to let's populate this with some stuff. I'm going to put some text in there. So let's make this a little bigger so that I can see it better. And in that text, I'm going to put let's see, text here. So the text is not just text view. I'm going to say this is a calculator. Great. Oh, it's not anchored, but I'm going to anchor it soon enough. I'm also going to put a button in here, which I'm going to say back to main is going to be the text here. So it says back to main. And I'm going to zoom in and anchor and try to anchor these these ones here. So watch me struggle with this. So far, so good. I don't know if it's going to work or not. Okay. Nope. I think that's pretty good. Oh, it's complaining about a couple of things here. Oh, oh yeah, it doesn't have strings for those. So actually, I think I fix it from here. Can I fix it from there? No, I can't. Okay, so then I'm just going to go back to, let's get a little more screen real estate, go back to the side-by-side view, and I can extract those two strings. And sure is called this is a calculator, and then back to main. Okay. And so now I'll just run it again. Let's just see how it looks to launch the calculator with that. Oh, this one isn't anchored. I wonder if it's going to look funny. Let's find out. Yeah, that's pretty good. No, it's not it. No, actually looks fine. Okay, this is a calculator and then back to main. And now what I want to do is I want to, when I want to implement the listener on this button to close this activity and go back to main. And so I do that by, once again, putting an on click on here, and I'll just call it back to main. I'll create that method on the class. And now back to main, this is going to call finish, which finishes the activity, right? And then sends it back to whatever the activity launched it. So, oops, I got to reload the application. And as you can see, the turnaround is pretty quick, even on like my super old laptop. Once Android Studio gets humming and things like that, it's actually pretty good. Honestly, this is probably a little faster than even like running my unit tests, my integration tests in IntelliJ. It's speedy once it warms up. So anyway, I launch the calculator, and now I can say back to main, and it closes that activity and goes back one. Cool. Okay. Now let's commit this, and let's see here. Added a calculator activity that can be launched from main. Now, I want to have a simple calculator UI. We'll just do some addition here in the calculator. So I want to add another widget in between these two, which is basically going to have like a text box and then a plus button, plus another text box, and then it have actually maybe a plus piece of static text, and then an equals button that you can click, and then it'll print the sum. That's what I'm going to try to do now. So now first we got to draw that. Now, here in the palette, we have these different layouts. And you can learn about the layouts in the, actually, we're just going to go into full screen, full layout mode so we can see things more easily. You're gonna learn about the various different kinds of layouts in the lectures. But here I want to use a linear layout, and a linear layout basically lays out elements, well, left to right, horizontal. So I'm just going to put that here in the palette. In here, let's see here. I want to anchor things, I guess. I want to anchor this now to that layout, and I want to anchor this to. I want to anchor this to this layout now. Okay, and in here, I want to drop. Let's see here. First, I want a text. I want a number. There we go. I want a number text, and I want to put it in here. And it's pretty big. I don't think that worked out very well. I'm going to go back to the XML and see if I can get things nested properly. Well, let's see here. It's complaining about this linear layout. It's saying this view is not constrained. Well, okay, so it's going to be ugly. So, like, why didn't that work right? Oh, probably because. Okay. Although it did put the editor inside it, which is good. Okay, let's go back and do some more constraint. This is why I don't like constraint layout very much. I find it just obnoxious. I want this one over there. I want this one over there. I think now is it constrained? No, this one didn't have a constraint. I don't know, is this constrained now? Let's go back and look at the XML. Nope, still doesn't like it. Also add a constraint. It is not constrained vertically. At runtime, it will jump to the top unless you add a vertical constraint. Well, then, can you just add a vertical constraint for me? No. Okay, so then... yeah, this is where, like, the layouts always get me, every time. So let's try it once more. Nope. Okay, I might just have to go in and hand edit the XML if I can't get it to constrain properly. Actually, let's just see what it looks like if I go and run it. And actually, is this a? Did I get that layout right? Is that a horizontal layout? Yeah, it says orientation is horizontal. Okay, that is surprising. Let's go launch it again and see if it's super ugly. That'll be a good example of what happens when you don't have constrained layouts. Meanwhile, we have to figure out all this constraint end to the end of other stuff. But it's probably constrained. Okay, let's do launch calculator. Yeah, it's got this big number box up here and stuff, which is ugly. So gotta have to fix that. Okay, no problem. Right. Okay. So first of all, I'm going to move this linear layout. It's weird to have things in this order, so the button should be on the bottom. This just helps me understand the XML file a little better. Let's move this up here to have the bottom of the bottom button. Okay. And actually, let me. So if you look at the XML, so this is complaining that, hey, not everything is constrained properly. And you can notice there are all these like layout, constraint bottom to the bottom of, everything like that. This is what you get when you establish these constraints, are these things being set. So I'm going to try to do this by hand. Let's see if I can get it to the correct. Let's see here. Constraint end to the end of parent. Well, that's not right. So wait, what's end and what is start? So let's see here. Like this one right here, does it say? So this is constraint bottom and start top. Okay, so start, so there's top, bottom, start, end. So start must be on the left, end must be on the right, because that's what these are. Yeah, end and start is the parent. And now I want the top, so the top of this one to be the bottom of, this is a calculator. And this is a calculator, does have, okay, it does have a an ID, but I want to change that ID. So the ID, each one of these widgets has an ID, and you can reference it in other widgets. So here I want to change the ID. Instead of just being text view, I'm going to call it, well, this is a calculator. And basically renames it, so yes, please, nah. Okay, this is a calculator. And so now here, I want to have my layout have the top of that layout be the bottom of this is a calculator. Cool. And then I want to constrain the bottom of that one to the top of the button down there. It's button 2. We've got to rename that. Done. Let's see, can I just rename it from here? Yes, rename this to back to main. Nice. And it's no longer complaining that it's not constrained, which is good. And actually, let's look at the layout. That's looking better. That's looking way better. Okay, so let's try running this again. What actually was complaining about here? Layout width of 0 device pixels instead of wrap content for better performance. I don't know. Let's give it a try. My experience has been is that dealing with the layouts is actually one of the more time-consuming things that you do in Android applications. I guess it's not surprising, right? I mean, crafting the look of your application is a big deal. Oh, this is looking much better. So now I can put my numbers in here. Okay, that's nice. So I've got my I've got my linear layout here, and it's got some edits, some stuff in here. And let's see here. I want to have some plain text after that, or text view. I just want some plain text. And if I just drag it here, where does it go? Oh yeah. So plain text might not be what I want. Edit text, no, I don't think it's what I want. I don't want that. I'm gonna undo it. Can I undo that? Okay. Actually, I want to commit this code because I'm messing with it. So get the add a linear layout for the calculator inputs. Just gonna push that up. Okay, now I'm going to add some more stuff. I'm going to add just a text view where I want, oops, what is that going to look like? Cool, the text view, I want this to display the text plus, which I guess I got to use the attributes to set that. I want the text to be plus. And then I want, I'll get rid of the XML. And then I want another, this text box is way too big. Well, let's add another one. I want a number, where'd my number go? I want a number, go after this. Oops, where'd my plus go? It's not plus anymore. Okay, I guess I do want this after all. Yeah, there's my text. Oh, interesting, I'm not seeing it. Okay, back to me. Where's my plus? Okay, so the plus is there, although, oh, why is it saying that? Autofill hints. I don't want that. Oh, wait a second, no, the button got, sorry, this button got put outside the linear layout. Well, no wonder it's so messed up. So I'm going to put that right here. So sometimes it's easier to look at the XML to figure out how things are laid out. Cool, now I've got that. Oh, no, it's back to main. Now it's back to main. I wanted that outside of it. So where did my, oh, I see, no, this is right. So I've got my, I'm going to rename this, not edit text number, this is going to be left operand. And I want to have my plus, I'm going to have my right operand. And I got my plus, and actually, I'm going to put in, I'm just going to add some, what doesn't it look here? It's probably the whole autofill hints. Then, I think it's going to be easier for me to just add a new button. The layout width, let's just have that wrap content. So basically makes it wide enough so you can see it. And the layout height also wrap content. And then I'm going to have the text here be the equal sign. And I think that's it. And it's going to want me to put that in a, oops, going to want me to put that in a resource string. Fine, let's call it equals. And then let's call this one plus. Direct resource, call it plus. There we go. And actually, this one, I don't think I need to name that because we're not going to use it for anything. So let's see what this looks like now. Well, that plus is like super small. And there's the equals. Okay. Well, it's kind of ugly. I need to figure out how to make these a little more narrow. Actually, can I just like drag this here and make it smaller? Where is, wow, why is that? The plus is just getting totally consumed by the other stuff. I can't even see the plus. That is so weird. Why can't I see the plus? Well, before we do too much more, I also want to, so I have my left operand, I have my plus sign, I have my right operand, I have my button, and then I want to have here, I want another text view. Oops. And again, wrap content, wrap content. I'm going to want this one to have an ID. And this is going to be called the sum. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to print the sum here into this text view. And yeah, cool. So like, what is this button might be? That might not be ugly. I don't even see it, right? Yeah. So I need to make some of these a little wider. So let me go. Let's see, I don't need the palette anymore. Oh, but I do need this. I want to look at the text view for plus, and I want to make that wider. So let's see here. Let's make that width. The width, I don't know if I make it like 40 device pixels. Does that show anything? Oh, there it is. Now it's a little bigger. Oh, I like that. Okay. So that's cool. It's going to be 40 device pixels. And I want to align it center. Oops, align, text alignment. And I want to make that center. Okay, good. Now the plus is there. Okay, that looks way better. Okay, good. So I want to use things like that for the for this stuff. So like this one, it's got this width, and so I kind of like that width of things. But I guess also I want to do that same thing for the sum. I want to make the alignment center, and I want to make it wider. Oops. And I want to make the width to be, oh, I don't know, 100 device pixels. There you go. That looks pretty good. It's interesting that it doesn't fit. So I want this one a little. Oh wait, and now I lost my plus there. Okay, that's looking pretty good now. Oh, I think it just got too wide. There we go. Okay, so now I've got a number here, a plus, a number there, the equals button, and then the sum will be over here. Well, this is what it looks like right now. Let's see how the whole thing renders in the app. So you see what we're doing here? We're like using the attributes of these things to try to make it look halfway decent. I have to admit, this is where I kind of stumble through things in Android as I'm trying to get it to look good. Yeah. Commentary. Oh, okay, yeah, they want a little bit of space around the button. Yeah, maybe we can get back to that later. Because for me, this isn't like the most, this isn't the terribly interesting thing. The more interesting thing is like how to respond and how to implement this code. Okay, launch the calculator. Okay, that looks meh. That looks fine. Yeah, I wonder if we can make the button a little more narrow. What happens there? Oh, that looks a little better. And yeah, that would be nice if there was some padding, which actually, I don't know, is there such a thing as padding? Padding, padding, here we go. Padding horizontal. So if I just say, I don't know, 10 dp, does that do anything? Yeah, it didn't seem to do anything. So I don't know exactly what that means. Might be internal padding or something like that. But this is good enough for now. Okay, so let's commit these changes. And let's see here. Add widgets to the calculator for computing a sum. Thanks. Okay. Okay. Well, now we have our widgets. But as we saw here in the, you can add, and you can. Actually, I want to have those centered. Don't I? I want to have the text alignment. Text alignment is center, and text alignment is centered. Yeah, it'll look a lot better if that's centered. Because then what we'll be able to do is, say something like, whatever that is, 32 plus, 45, then click equals, and then I want the sum to be displayed over here in the sum text widget right there. So that's what we're going to do now, is we're going to implement that. And here's how all of that works. So once again, we're going to want to have a listener on an on-click listener registered on the button. And so this will be on the calculator activity. Oh, it's nice that it prompts you for things. But I want to call it compute sum. And now if I go back to my, my XML view, it'll say, hey, I don't know about compute sum, so let's go and create that there. Okay, and I want to do the following. Okay, so what I want to do here when I click equals, I want to get the value that's in the left operand. I want to get the values in the right operand. I want to compute their sum and display it over here in the sum field. And so now what my activity Java code does is it needs to get a reference to the UI widgets that are there in the that they're in the UI. So the whole idea is that everything here that we've built, everything that's in the XML file, all these all these widgets right here, those are objects inside of your application, and you can get a reference to them inside your Java code and then do things with them, like get their value and set their value. And this is what we want to do inside the calculator activity class here. So the way that you do this is actually, I remember the exact API. I'm going to look at my notes. Right. So there is a method called find view by ID. So a view is the this is the superclass of all widgets in Android applications, and you give it an ID. Now the ID is what you specified here in the XML file in the ID property. So like here it's called right operand. And in Java, the way you reference that is you use this magical class called R for resource. And you say r.id dot left operand. And here, so calling this method will get you a reference to that object. And so we're going to call that, well, let's put that into a variable. Let's extract a variable for it. And we're going to call it left operand. And this isn't a view, it's going to be a text view? What was that type of that thing? That was an edit text. Which actually might also be edit text, yeah. Right there. Great, so we find the left one, we're going to duplicate that, and we're going to get the right one. And then here, right operand. Nice, so we've got the left one and the right one. So now we've got the edit text. And what we want to do is we want to get the string that's there in the text. So we're just going to call it left string, and we're going to just use it as a Java API, right? Left operand is an object, and we're just going to call it get text. Now get text returns this thing called editable, And so then if we just get the toString value of it, that will return the text there. And we'll do the same thing with the write string. And actually, just to debug this, well, actually, oh, no, wait, what a great idea. We should debug this. And we could add a toast, but let's debug this instead. Actually, well, I'll debug. I'll add a toast. And then I'll just say left string plus right string. So let's just do that and see what happens. So basically what I'm demonstrating here is, oops, that should be right operand. So this won't work. So if I have 4 plus 5, I click equals. It says 4 plus 4 because it's using the left operand twice. But that basically is getting that information there. Now, if I have something empty and I click equals, oh, because it's still not getting it. If I have both of them empty and I click equals, oh, isn't that interesting? So oh, that's a good point. It's just going to be the empty string. So that's cool. But instead what I want to do is I want to convert those to integers and then display their sum in the sum field right here. So let's get rid of this toast and instead say the following. Now I wanted to left value, and I'm just going to say integer.parseInt to convert the left string into an integer. Same thing with the right value equals integer.parseInt of the right string. Spell things correctly. And now we will compute the sum equals left value plus right value. And now I want to, well, display that sum inside the sum field. I'm going to call it sum value. There you go. Just be consistent. So now I'm going to use that find view by ID again to get the .sum, and that is going to be, actually I can just navigate to it right here, I think. Yep, here it is. It navigates right to it. So here is the text view that's here at the end of my layout, which is the sum. So I'm going to say great. I'm going to get that there. Oh, there we go. And I'm going to put this in a variable called sum. And this is going to be a text view. Is that what that was, I think? Does it tell me right here? Yeah, it's a text view. So now go back. So it's going to be a text view. And I'm going to say sum. Can I say set text here? Yes, set text to the string value of string.value of my sum value. And I'm going to run it again. And if you're launching it, now I go to launch my calculator. And now if I say 3 plus 4 equals 7, right? So what have we done here? We implemented an event handler for the equal sign that goes through and looks at the value of the left operand, the right operand, computes their sum, and then writes their sum back to the sum field. So what happens when that's empty? Oh, there it is. Okay. I'll show that again. So if you click equals, when those are empty, the app crashed. So, airline keeps stopping. Do I want to close the app? Yes, I do. And why does it crash when the field is empty? Well, it crashes because when you call parseInt on an empty string, it throws an exception. So what we can do here is, well, handle the exception and handle the exception accordingly. So we now need to call integer.parseInt in a try catch. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to split into declaration and assignment so I can easily wrap this in a try-catch block of a number format exception. And now I'm going to, I'm going to say, I'm going to create a toast here just as for an error message. And it's going to say, I'm going to say invalid left operand, and operand, and then I'm going to say plus left string. And I'm going to do the similar thing. Oh, and I need to return here from the method. And I'm going to do the same thing for right value. So I copy paste this code. It's a little easier. And then I'm going to say invalid right operand, right string. Oops. A quick question came in. Are we supposed to write tests for Project 6? No. No tests, no Java docs. You've already demonstrated that. You can write tests, but that's not something we're going to evaluate. Probably should have answered that while I was rebuilding. So now I've added error checking to the inputs here. So when there is a number format exception that occurs, we'll get a nice error. Yep. Invalid operand. And now when I put in 4 here and it's empty, invalid right operand. And I suppose I could have put quotes around those so you'd see it as the empty string. But anyway, now 4 plus 6 is still 10. So I'm going to commit this. Okay, implement the logic of computing the sum of the numbers entered into the calculator widgets. And so, what I hope you got a feel for, through this demonstration, is how to write an Android app, right? After you create it and get the emulator working and everything, it's really this iterative process of writing a little bit of code to or use the visual editor to write some things that the user sees, the widgets, and then implementing logic behind all of that to do things like handle events and look at the values that the user has entered into the UI. So those are the fundamentals of Android UI development. And this is a good stopping point for tonight, both in terms of the coding and also class. Let's see here. Let's take a look again at what's left in the course. So this was tonight. How beefy do you need to make your project? I am scared now. I don't know what you mean by beefy exactly, Greg. Can you talk about
Like how magnificent should it look? I mean, I feel like I don't know. I'm not very good at styling.
It's not for me. It's not so much about magnificence as it is magnificent look as it is usability, right? If I can figure it out, and you've demonstrated that you've put an effort into making it look decent, right? So if everything is jumble, so like for this actually, like this one that I wrote here, I don't know. I'd probably a little bit of polish on it and sort of like play with these a little bit. I like the fact that I was like centering these. I just thought it made it look a little better. And I also want to make these a little more narrow, maybe add some padding, right? Sort of things like that. But it has to look, again, it has to be usable and you be able to figure out how to use it. If I have to like squint or figure things out or like, oh, look, the widgets are all, akimbo, that I'm not going to like. But probably the best thing to do is like send me a screenshot of it. And it's like, is this okay? And the answer will probably be yes. But if that'll help you, assuage your fears and give you the confidence to go fast, go for it. So tonight we were starting to build an Android application. On Wednesday, we have our third mob programming activity. You can be here in the classroom or you can be remote. I can't make it to campus on Wednesday, so I will be remote. If anyone wants to come to the classroom, coordinate amongst yourselves. If there's anyone that would like to mob in person, or you can join remotely. I will be on the Zoom, and so then we'll do that on Wednesday. That'll be the third and final mob program activity. I'm really curious to see how people's experiences are when they're remote. And then next Monday we'll do a little bit more. Well, we'll do another round of iterating on the Android app to see more things. And then also next Wednesday we'll talk about the final. Sorry, next Monday we'll talk about the final exam, and we'll also figure out what the hell we're doing on Wednesday. Actually, I do have a couple of former students who are doing independent studies, and they'll be reporting out then. So that will take them out of class, and then I don't know. We can figure out maybe there's more Android stuff to do, or I don't know. I wouldn't mind maybe doing some AI assisted coding to see like what it's really like, or if there's something that I can sort of like talk extemporaneously on. I don't know. I'll try my best. I don't know how good I'll do without slides, so we'll see. So the March 12th is kind of up in the air, and then that's kind of it. We're getting close. So 2 weeks from tonight is the final exam, and we'll talk more about that next week. And then that's the last time we'll be meeting. And then on the 19th, we don't have class, but that's when all the remaining coursework is due. And so then we'll practice when Project 6 is due. That's when the final quiz is due, and that's also when the end of term survey is due. And of course, the final exam is on Monday, 17th. So we're almost done. Cool. Okay then. That's all I got. Anything else? Okay. Well, let me know how Project 5 is going. Pizza for the last day. We'll talk about it. Awesome. Hope everybody has a great evening. Yeah, let me know if there's anything I can do for you. Otherwise, I'll see you remotely on Wednesday. Bye now.